I'm leaving you for Lauren. She's everything you're not. My boyfriend said those words while I was literally paying for his MBA. Then, as if cheating on me for 4 months wasn't enough, he added the sentence I would hear in my head for weeks afterward. You were safe, Maddie. But I realized I deserve more than safe. I looked at him across the living room of the house I owned, watched him grip the handle of a Louis Vuitton suitcase I had bought him for Christmas, and somehow managed not to cry. Instead, I said quietly, "Good luck." What Evan didn't realize was that before the sun went down, safe was about to become very expensive to lose. My name is Madeline Carter. Most people call me Maddie. I'm 30 years old, and I work as a project manager for a mid-sized construction company in Denver. I make around $95,000 a year. That sounds comfortable now, but I didn't come for money. I started at the bottom of the construction industry, straight out of high school, mostly handling paperwork, scheduling deliveries, and doing whatever nobody else wanted to do. I attended community college at night, picked up certifications whenever I could afford them, and slowly worked my way into project coordination and eventually management. 3 years ago, I bought a 3-bedroom house for $385,000. Nothing glamorous, but it was mine. I remember sitting alone on the living room floor the first night, because I couldn't afford decent furniture yet, eating takeout noodles from the carton and staring at the keys in my hand. I had never been prouder of anything. Then, Evan came along. I met Evan Brooks 2.5 years ago at my friend Claire's barbecue. He was 24. Tall, dark-haired, ridiculously charming, and the kind of man who seemed capable of making an ordinary conversation feel like flirting. He worked part-time at an expensive clothing boutique in Cherry Creek, and probably earned around $25,000 a year. He was also perpetually broke. At the time, he shared a cramped apartment with 3 roommates. His old Honda Civic broke down constantly. He could look like he belonged in a luxury advertisement while quietly checking his bank balance before ordering dinner. I noticed all of that. I simply didn't see it as a warning. At first, helping him felt natural. His car died, I drove over. We went to dinner, I paid. His roommates were screaming at 2 a.m. He stayed at my place. 1 toothbrush became 2. Then, a drawer became half my dresser. 6 months later, Evan was essentially living with me, even though we had never formally discussed moving in. His shoes were beside mine in the entryway. His protein powder occupied an entire kitchen cabinet. His expensive grooming products spread across my bathroom counter. And somehow my grocery bill doubled without him ever saying, "Let me cover half." I didn't care. That is the embarrassing part. I was happy. Evan could be incredibly affectionate when he wanted to be. He would wrap his arms around me while I kiss the back of my neck and tell me how lucky he felt. "You're the first person who's ever made me feel secure," he once whispered. Secure. Interesting word considering how much he would eventually despise it. The first major financial decision came about a year into our relationship. Evan wanted an MBA in marketing. "I'm never going anywhere working retail," he told me one night. "I need to elevate myself." The program he wanted cost around $42,000. His parents weren't willing to help, and he complained that financial aid wouldn't cover enough. For weeks, I listened to him talk about being trapped. Then, I made one of the most expensive emotional decisions of my life. "I'll pay for it." He stared at me. "What?" "The MBA. Maddie, are you serious?" I nodded. He practically launched himself across the couch. He kissed me until we were both laughing, and afterward, lying beside me, he talked about our future. His degree, a high-paying marketing job, marriage someday, travel, maybe kids. "We're going to be a power couple," he said. I believed him. Once school began, the expenses multiplied. He needed a better laptop. Email Babe. Professional clothes. More than $3,000. Then his Civic became embarrassing around classmates who drove newer cars. I co-signed a lease on a Honda CR-V. His work hours dropped because he needed more time for school, which meant his contribution to our expenses went from small to non-existent. Mortgage, utilities, food, car payment, insurance, gas, restaurants, entertainment, tuition. Most of it landed on me. My monthly expenses climbed from roughly $3.200 to more than $6.000. Whenever I worried about it, Evan would smile and say the same thing. It's temporary. Once I graduate, I'll take care of you for a change. So I kept paying. Then temporary began getting more luxurious. Better restaurants, more expensive clothes, hair appointments, skincare, a gym membership he barely used. Whenever I questioned something, Evan had an explanation. Networking matters in business. Appearance matters. You don't understand the image you have to project. One afternoon, I came home from a job site and discovered my entire living room had been replaced. New couch, new artwork, new lamps, decorative objects I didn't recognize. More than $4,000 charged to a card attached to my account. Evan. He looked up proudly. Do you like it? You spent $4,000 without asking me. His expression changed instantly. I thought this was our home. It is. That's why we discuss $4,000 purchases. You always do this. Do what? Make everything about money. That sentence stayed with me. Because almost everything in Evan's life existed because of my money. Around 8 months into his program, our relationship changed. The affection faded. Sex became rare. Date nights disappeared. He was always exhausted. Always studying. Always networking. And then I started hearing one name. Lauren Hayes. Lauren says the professor's strategy is outdated. Lauren knows someone at a consulting firm. Lauren thinks I should go into brand development. At first, I was happy he had found an ambitious classmate. Then, the stories changed. Lauren drove a BMW. Lauren supposedly owned her own digital marketing consultancy. Lauren had worked with brands Evan claimed included companies like Pepsi and Nike. Lauren was taking the MBA only because she wanted to expand nationally. She's insanely smart, Evan told me one evening. I smiled. You mention her a lot. His face tightened. We worked together. I didn't say anything was wrong. You were implying it. I hadn't been. But suddenly I wondered whether I should have been. Evan started dressing differently for school. Sharper shirts. Better shoes. Cologne at 8 in the morning. His study groups ended at 11 at night. Then came the networking events. Lauren always seemed to have an extra invitation. Whenever I offered to join them, Evan had a reason I couldn't. Students only. Industry people only. Limited tickets. You'd be bored anyway, he once said. That one hurt more than I admitted. Still, I convinced myself not to become suspicious. I told myself I was being insecure. Evan was ambitious. Lauren had connections. Graduate school was stressful. I was the supportive girlfriend. That was what supportive girlfriends did. Then, March 15 happened. I was working from home that afternoon when the front door opened around 2:30. Evan usually didn't return until after 3. He walked into the living room, but didn't kiss me. Behind him sat 2 suitcases. The matching designer set I had bought him for Christmas. My stomach tightened. Evan. He rubbed his palms against his jeans. We need to talk. Nobody hears those words from the person they love and thinks something good is coming next. He stared at me for several seconds. Then he said it. I'm in love with Lauren. Everything inside me went silent. We've been together for 4 months. 4 months. Thanksgiving. The late study sessions. The networking events. The nights he climbed into bed after I was asleep. All of it rearranged itself in my memory. I'm moving in with her this weekend, he continued. She understands me in a way you don't. I forced myself to breathe. How long? I just told you. No. How long have you been sleeping with her? His eyes dropped. Since right after Thanksgiving. I looked around my house. At the furniture he bought with my card. At the laptop I purchased. At the car keys sitting beside his wallet. At the man whose education I was funding while he planned a life with another woman. Then Evan delivered the sentence that finished whatever was left of us. Lauren is going places, Maddie. She wants me beside her. With you, everything is just safe. I stood very still. You think safe is bad. I think I deserve more. For some reason, that made me calmer. Not less hurt. Calmer. Because there are moments when pain becomes so large that something practical takes over. I manage construction projects for a living. When something fails, I don't scream at the concrete. I figure out what went wrong. I calculate the damage. Then I make a plan. I understand, I said. Evan blinked. That's it. You've been cheating for 4 months. You've chosen her. What exactly would you like me to fight for? He looked almost disappointed. I thought you'd care more. I do. That was the truth. I cared enough that my hands were trembling beneath the desk. But he didn't deserve to see it. Lauren's coming around 6 to help me get the rest of my things, he said. Fine. He hesitated. Then he left to get lunch. The moment his car disappeared down the street, I locked the door and sat at my desk. For several minutes, I did nothing. Then I pulled a yellow legal pad from the drawer. At the top, I wrote, everything I pay for: tuition, car, insurance, phone, credit cards, food, subscriptions, household expenses. The list kept growing. By the time I reached the bottom of the page, my sadness had transformed into something much colder. Evan thought he was leaving his boring, safe girlfriend for a glamorous woman who could give him a better life. Vina. He was free to chase it. But starting today, he was going to learn exactly how much that boring life had been costing me, and exactly how much it was about to cost him to lose it. The first thing I did was call Evan's university. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't throw anything. I just picked up my phone, opened the tuition portal, and found the number for the financial aid office. If Evan wanted a new life, he was going to fund it himself. After being transferred twice, I finally reached someone who could access the payment agreement. Hi, I said, keeping my voice steady. My name is Madeline Carter. I'm listed as a third-party guarantor for Evan Brooks's tuition plan. The woman confirmed my information. I need to withdraw from all future payment obligations. There was a pause. Are you withdrawing immediately? I'll honor the current semester because it's already in progress. But I will not be responsible for summer or fall. She asked if I understood that Evan would then become responsible for arranging payment himself. I understand perfectly. That sentence felt better than it should have. The paperwork would take about 48 hours to process. Fine. 48 hours was nothing compared to the 4 months Evan had spent lying to my face. Next came the credit cards. Evan was an authorized user on 2 of my accounts. Those were the cards he used for school supplies, clothes, grooming appointments, restaurants, and whatever else he decided was somehow part of our future. I removed him from both. Then I called the insurance company. Evan was driving the CRV I had co-signed for, but he was no longer going to be living at my address. So I removed him from my policy. Then the phone plan. Then every shared subscription. Netflix, Spotify, Amazon, Hulu. Even the grocery delivery account. I changed every password I could think of. Then the Wi-Fi password. That one made me smile. Petty. Maybe. But if Lauren was everything, I wasn't surely she could provide internet. By 4 o'clock, I had a spreadsheet open on my laptop and was working through every recurring charge line by line. The total was worse than I expected. Between tuition insurance, the car food shared expenses, personal spending entertainment, and everything else, I had been subsidizing roughly $4,000 of Evan's monthly lifestyle. $4,000. For a man who had been sleeping with someone else. The number made something inside me go cold. At 4:30, I called a locksmith. By 5:15, the locks were changed. There was one more thing. Evan had left half his wardrobe upstairs. Some of it he had purchased himself. A lot of it I had paid for. Unlike the original impulse, I had to throw everything into garbage bags and donate it. I stopped myself. I was angry, not stupid. I wasn't going to create a legal mess over clothes. So I separated everything that was clearly his, packed it into boxes, and stacked it by the front door. Anything that belonged to me stayed. Anything I had bought, but given to him as a gift, went into his boxes too. That distinction mattered. I wanted him gone. I didn't need revenge badly enough to hand him ammunition. Around 5:45, a car pulled into my driveway. I looked through the blinds, and there she was, Lauren Hayes. I almost laughed, not because she was unattractive. She wasn't. She was tall, stylish, and carried herself like someone who wanted people to notice when she entered a room. But the car, the supposedly impressive BMW Evan had talked about for months, was an aging 3 Series with a dent near the rear bumper and one mismatched wheel. Not exactly the sleek luxury machine I had imagined from his stories. Evan got out of the passenger side. Lauren remained behind the wheel for a moment, checking her reflection in the mirror before stepping out. That told me more than it should have. Evan walked to the front door and tried his key. It didn't turn. He tried again, then harder. Finally, he knocked. I opened the door. He stared at me. My key doesn't work. I changed the locks. His face tightened. Why? Because you moved out. I haven't moved out yet. You packed your suitcases and told me you're moving in with another woman. That qualifies. Lauren shifted behind him. For the first time, I got a good look at her. She was trying very hard to appear comfortable. She wasn't succeeding. Evan gestured awkwardly. Maddie, this is Lauren. I figured. Lauren gave me a small smile. Hey. No handshake. No drama. I wasn't interested. Evan stepped inside. I need the rest of my stuff. It's by the door. He stared at the boxes. You packed everything. Everything that's yours. He opened one and immediately started digging through it. My watches. Second box. My cologne. Bathroom items are in the small one. He glanced at me. What about the bracelet you bought me? The silver one is in the jewelry pouch. No, the Cartier bracelet. I looked at him. The one from Valentine's Day. Yes. I returned it. His face went blank. What? I returned it. You can't do that. I bought it. It was a gift. It hadn't been given to you yet. That part was technically true. I had purchased it in advance, planning to surprise him at dinner the following week. He had seen the store bag in my closet and guessed what it was, but I had never actually handed it over. The receipt was still in the box. Perfectly returnable. Evan stared at me in disbelief. Lauren looked at the floor. That was the first moment I noticed something strange. She didn't seem offended on Evan's behalf. She seemed embarrassed for him. Interesting. Evan crossed his arms. This is insane. What is? You're acting like some bitter psycho. I'm giving you your belongings. You changed the locks. You moved out. You cut my phone off. You're no longer on my plan. His head snapped up. What? And your credit cards. His face changed. What about them? You're no longer an authorized user. The room went silent. Lauren looked at him, then at me, then back at him. Evan's expression went from anger to panic in less than 2 seconds. Maddie, you can't just do that. I can. I use those cards for everything. I know. What am I supposed to do? The question almost made me laugh. What do you mean? My school expenses, gas, food, my appointments. You have a job. My job barely pays anything. You have Lauren. Lauren's face flickered. That one landed. I turned toward her politely. I assume you two have discussed finances considering you're moving in together. Lauren cleared her throat. We'll figure things out. Evan looked at her quickly. That wasn't the confident answer he expected. Then he turned back to me. This is vindictive. No. Vindictive would be trying to damage your life. I'm simply no longer paying for it. He opened his mouth, closed it, then said, You're punishing me because I fell in love with someone else. I looked at him for a long moment. No, Evan. I'm accepting your decision. He hated that answer more than anger. People like Evan understood conflict. Conflict gave them something to fight. Calm consequences were harder. Lauren finally stepped forward. Maybe we should just get your things and go. Evan snapped. I am getting my things. I watched his pride and panic battle each other. He wanted to look powerful in front of Lauren, but he also wanted his financial safety net back. He couldn't have both. They loaded the boxes into her BMW. Before leaving, Evan turned toward me. This isn't over. It is for me. He stared at me, then climbed into Lauren's car. I closed the door, locked it, and for the first time in months, my house was completely quiet. No expensive grooming products covering the bathroom. No shoes blocking the hallway. No complaints about groceries. No late-night networking. Just silence. I ordered pizza and ate it on the couch. It was the cheapest dinner I had bought in months. The next morning, my phone rang at 7:08. Avon. I stared at his name for several seconds before answering. What? My card got declined. I almost admired the predictability. At a coffee shop. Yes. You removed me. Yes. Maddie, I needed breakfast. Then buy breakfast. With what? Money. He exhaled sharply. You know I don't have much right now. That sounds temporary. Silence. I smiled. He recognized his own phrase. Maddie. What? You're being cruel. No. I'm being consistent. He hung up. By noon he called again from Lauren's phone because his own service had stopped. Then another number. Then my office. By Friday afternoon, he was standing at my front door. This time Lauren stayed in the car. Evan looked terrible. Not devastated. Frantic. There's a difference. Maddie, please. We need to talk. We are talking. I got an email from the university. There it was. They said you withdrew from future tuition payments. I did. His face reddened. I'm halfway through the program. I know. You promised to pay. I promised my boyfriend I would help pay for his education. His jaw tightened. I'm still the same person. No, you're someone else's boyfriend now. He looked toward Lauren's car. She and I are serious. Then, congratulations. That's not the point. It's exactly the point. He ran a hand through his hair. You can't destroy my education because our relationship ended. I'm not destroying anything. You know I can't afford the tuition. Then get financial aid. Take loans. Work more hours. Ask Lauren. His expression changed, just slightly, but I saw it. Lauren and I are still figuring things out. There it was again. That phrase, figuring things out. For months, Lauren had been presented to me as a brilliant entrepreneur with major clients and endless connections. Now suddenly, she and Evan were figuring things out. I leaned against the doorframe. Is something wrong? No. Too fast. Avon. He looked away. Her place is smaller than I thought. I said nothing. She shares it. With who? A roommate. That surprised me. Evan had spoken about Lauren's downtown place like it was some luxury apartment overlooking the city. What kind of roommate? Just someone she knows. He sounded irritated. I waited. He hated silence. It's a one-bedroom. I blinked. And where are you sleeping? He gave me a look. On the couch, right now. That almost got me. You moved out of a 3-bedroom house to sleep on someone's couch. Maddie, I'm asking. It's temporary. There was that word again. I noticed Lauren staring at us through the windshield. She looked annoyed. Not concerned. Annoyed. What about her business? I asked. What about it? You said she was successful. She is. Then, why is she living with a roommate? His face hardened. Plenty of successful people have roommates. Sure. She's investing everything back into the business. Of course. You don't have to sound like that. Like what? Judgmental. I almost told him that he had spent months judging my life as too safe. Instead, I shrugged. Then I'm sure everything will work out. He stared at me. I need access to one card. No. Just for a month. No. Until I get things sorted out. No. He finally snapped. You're enjoying this. I considered the accusation. Was I? A little. But not for the reason he thought. I'm enjoying not being responsible for you anymore. He flinched. I closed the door. That weekend his family started calling. His mother went first. Maddie, please don't abandon him like this. Abandon. Interesting word. He left me. He's confused. He cheated. For 4 months. He made a mistake. A 4-month mistake. You know what I mean. No, I actually don't. She sighed dramatically. He's scared. He doesn't know what to do. He's 24. He's still young. So was I when I learned how to pay my own bills. That ended the conversation quickly. His sister called next. Lauren had manipulated Evan. Evan was vulnerable. He had never experienced attention from someone like that. Apparently, the affair was somehow everyone's fault except his. Then his father called. That conversation lasted 90 seconds. A good woman stands by her man, he told me. A good man doesn't cheat on the woman paying his tuition. He's young. You're being cold. No, I'm finished. He hung up. Monday morning, Evan escalated. He posted online a long emotional statement about escaping a financially controlling relationship. According to him, I had used money to manipulate him and punish him for leaving. He never mentioned the affair. Never mentioned the 4 months of lying. Never mentioned that I had paid his tuition voluntarily. At first, people sympathized. Then our mutual friends started commenting. Claire wrote, "Didn't you cheat on her with Lauren?" Evan replied, "It's complicated." My coworker Jenna responded, "What's complicated about cheating for 4 months while someone pays your bills?" The comments changed quickly after that. By evening, Evan deleted the post. I took screenshots first. 2 days later, I received a legal letter. His lawyer claimed I had made a verbal commitment to finance the entire MBA program and that withdrawing payment caused emotional and financial harm. The letter looked impressive until my friend Nina, an actual attorney, read it. She laughed. "This is garbage. Completely. She pointed at one paragraph. "They're trying to intimidate you. Can they sue? Anyone can file something. Winning is another story." She wrote a response, making it very clear that I had no contractual obligation to continue subsidizing an adult ex-boyfriend's education. We heard nothing else from the lawyer. Then, Evan created a crowdfunding page, "Help me finish my education." The description painted him as a hard-working graduate student, abandoned by a wealthy, vindictive ex-girlfriend. He raised less than $500. Then mutual friends found the page. The comments turned into another public disaster. Someone wrote, "Maybe ask Lauren. Isn't she the successful business owner you cheated with?" Another, "Wild how Maddie was abusive only after she stopped paying." Evan deleted the fundraiser within days. That should have been the end. It wasn't. Because one night, while reviewing vendor records for work, I remembered something Evan had said about Lauren. Her consulting company had supposedly worked with several major national brands. I searched the company name. Almost nothing came up. No client announcements. No meaningful website history. No employees. No visible portfolio. That bothered me. Construction had trained me to distrust claims without documentation. Contractors could say anything. Numbers, licenses, insurance records, court filings, and corporate registrations told the truth. So I started digging. Legally. Publicly. Carefully. And within 20 minutes, I found the first thing that didn't match Lauren's story. Then another. Then another. By midnight, I was staring at my laptop with my heart pounding. Because Lauren Hayes wasn't just exaggerating. She had built an entire life out of exaggerations. And Evan had thrown away everything for it. The first thing I found was Lauren's company registration. Technically, Hayes Digital Strategy, LLC, existed. That was about the nicest thing I could say about it. The company had been registered nearly 3 years earlier, but I couldn't find evidence of employees' meaningful revenue major contracts or any of the national brands Evan had spent months bragging about. No Pepsi. No Nike. No impressive client portfolio. Nothing. I leaned closer to my laptop. Maybe she operated quietly. Maybe the company used subcontractors. Maybe there was a perfectly reasonable explanation. So I kept looking. And the deeper I went, the worse it got. There were public court records tied to Lauren. Debt judgments. A former landlord had sued her for unpaid rent and property damage. Then I found employment information that contradicted the glamorous story Evan had told me. Lauren hadn't left her previous marketing agency to launch some rapidly expanding consultancy. She had been terminated. Through legitimate professional verification channels and public records, I was able to piece together allegations involving falsified client reports and padded work records. That alone would have been enough to destroy the image Evan had created of her. But it wasn't even close to everything. There were multiple financial judgments and delinquent accounts associated with her. roughly $31,000 in credit card debt, 7 cards, student loans in default, totaling approximately $18,000. And then I found something that made me stop scrolling. A family court case. I read the name twice. Lauren Hayes. Same birth date. Same previous address. Same woman. There was a child involved. A little boy, 3 years old. His father, Jason Miller, lived in Milwaukee. According to the public court filings, Lauren owed nearly $13,000 in unpaid child support. He sat back. Evan had never mentioned Lauren having a child, and Evan mentioned everything about Lauren. Her car, her supposed clients, her business strategy, her favorite restaurants. The executives she supposedly knew. If he knew she had a 3-year-old son, there was no chance he would have left that detail out. Which meant Lauren had hidden it. I kept digging. There were enforcement proceedings related to the unpaid support. Another judgment for more than $4,000 from a former landlord. The supposedly thriving consulting company appeared to exist primarily on paper. And that BMW, the registration trail, led back to a relative. Not exactly the personal symbol of entrepreneurial success Evan had imagined. Then, I found information about Lauren's actual current employment. She wasn't running national campaigns for Fortune 500 brands. She was working for a small supplement startup with a compensation structure that looked suspiciously close to multi-level marketing. Commission-heavy, recruitment-driven, very little evidence of stable income. I stared at the screen for a long time. Months earlier, Evan had sat in my kitchen telling me Lauren was going to scale nationally. Now, I was looking at evidence suggesting she was barely keeping her own financial life together. The irony should have felt satisfying. Instead, at first, it made me strangely sad, because I suddenly understood what had happened. Lauren hadn't stolen Evan from me. She had sold him a fantasy, and Evan had been eager to buy it. The expensive car, the glamorous company, the powerful connections, the exciting future. He wanted those things so badly that he never stopped asking whether any of them were real. Meanwhile, I had offered him something real: a home, education, stability, loyalty, a future built slowly instead of advertised loudly. And apparently, reality hadn't been exciting enough. I closed my laptop. For 10 minutes, I walked around the house, telling myself to leave it alone. Evan wasn't my problem anymore. Lauren wasn't my problem. Whatever happened between them was none of my business. Then I remembered Evan's social media post. The fundraiser. The lawyer. His family calling me cruel. He hadn't simply left. He had tried to rewrite the story so that I became the villain. I went back to my desk. But I was careful. I wasn't going to fabricate anything. I wasn't going to illegally access private financial systems. I wasn't going to threaten Lauren. I simply organized the public and lawfully obtained information I already had. Court filings, business registration records, public judgments, professional records that could legitimately be verified. Everything went into one folder. Then I created a new email account. No threats, no insults, no commentary. The subject line was, "Information about Lauren Hayes." The message itself contained one sentence. "Thought you should know who you're really building a future with." Then I attached the documents. My finger hovered over the mouse. For half a second I wondered whether sending it made me vindictive. Maybe it did. Then I remembered 4 months of Evan, coming home from study groups, and kissing me goodnight. Click. So, I expected something eventually. I did not expect my phone to ring at 6:03 the next morning. Evan. I almost ignored it. Then curiosity won. "Hello. Maddie." His voice was broken. Not sad. Panicked. "Maddie, I screwed up." He sat up in bed. "What happened?" "Lauren." "Of course. What about her?" "She lied to me." I stared into the darkness. "About what?" "Everything." He was breathing so quickly I could hear it through the phone. Her company, her job, the BMW, her money, everything. I stayed quiet. Then he said the part I knew was coming. "She has a kid." I closed my eyes. A kid, Maddie. A 3-year-old son. She never told me. That sounds like something you should discuss with Lauren. I did. His voice cracked. She admitted it. I waited. She owes almost $13,000 in child support. How did you find all this? Someone emailed me. I tried to keep my voice neutral. What did they send? Court documents, business records, employment stuff, everything. That's a lot. I thought she owned a company. So did I, based on how often you talked about it. This isn't funny. I'm not laughing. She works for some stupid supplement company. I heard movement on the other end. A car door shutting, maybe. And the BMW isn't hers. I almost said I noticed. Instead, I asked, "Where are you?" There was a pause. In the CRV. Why? Another pause. Then, she kicked me out. That surprised me. What happened? I confronted her. And, at first, she denied everything. Then I showed her the documents. His breathing became shaky again. She finally admitted most of it. Most. She says the consulting company is real, just not profitable yet. Of course. She says the child support situation is complicated. Of course. She says Jason keeps using their son against her. Maybe. I don't know what to believe anymore. That sentence almost made me feel sorry for him. Almost. Then Evan continued. She asked me for money. There it was. What? She said if we're serious about building a future together, I should help her get caught up. With the child support. Yes. I had to pull the phone away from my face. The audacity was breathtaking. Lauren had apparently looked at a man who was living partly off his ex-girlfriend's financial support and decided he should rescue her financially. There was something almost artistic about it. What did you tell her? I told her I don't have $13,000. That seems accurate. Maddie. What? She asked about my savings. I actually laughed then. I couldn't help it. What savings? Exactly. He sounded offended. She thought I had money. That sentence silenced me. Suddenly, everything became clearer. Lauren had apparently assumed Evan had wealth. Evan had assumed Lauren had wealth. Both had looked at the other and seen a shortcut. And somehow, I had been financing one side of the illusion. What happened after you told her you were broke? She got weird. Weird how she started asking why you were paying for everything if I didn't have money myself. I covered my mouth. And what did you say? I told her it was none of her business. How noble. Maddie, please, continue. She asked whether I could get access to your cards again. That killed whatever amusement I felt. She asked you that. Yes. And I said no, because I removed you. I know. He went silent. Then he whispered. She told me I wasn't who she thought I was. For a moment, neither of us spoke. There are times when karma doesn't arrive dramatically. Sometimes, it just repeats someone's own words back to them. What happened then, I asked. She told me to leave. So you left. I didn't exactly have a choice. What about her roommate? That wasn't really her roommate. I frowned. What does that mean? The apartment belongs to her cousin. Lauren was sleeping there because she got evicted from her last place. Of course she was. And now, I've been sleeping in the CRV. How long? 2 nights. There was a long pause. Then his voice changed. Softer. Smaller. Maddie, can I come home? I felt something inside me tighten. No. Please. No. Not like that. I don't mean getting back together. Then what do you mean? Just your couch. I said nothing. 3 days, he continued quickly. Maybe 4, until I figure something out. You have family. My parents are 2 hours away. So drive 2 hours. I have class. Then commute. Maddie. No. He started crying. Actually crying. For 2 years I had seen Evan angry, frustrated, stressed, affectionate, drunk, exhausted. I had rarely seen him genuinely cry. I have nowhere to go. You chose somewhere. I chose wrong. There it was. Not I betrayed you. Not I hurt you. I chose wrong. I let the silence stretch. Finally I said, let me understand this. Maddie. No. Listen. He stopped. You cheated on me for 4 months while I paid for your tuition. Silence. You lied to me every day. Silence. You left because you thought Lauren was richer, more successful, and more exciting. I know. You let your family harass me. I didn't tell them to. You didn't stop them. He said nothing. You accused me publicly of financial abuse. I was angry. You threatened me with a lawyer. That was my dad's idea. You started a fundraiser telling strangers I destroyed your future. I deleted it. And now Lauren turns out to be broke, dishonest, and buried in debt, so suddenly you want my couch. His voice cracked. I know how it sounds. It sounds accurate. I made a mistake. No, Evan. I looked through my bedroom window at the first gray light of morning. You made decisions. He began crying harder. I was stupid. Yes. I was selfish. Yes. I ruined everything. Yes. There was no satisfaction in saying it anymore. Only exhaustion. I know I don't deserve anything from you, he whispered. But please. I'm desperate. That was the first truly honest sentence I had heard from him in months. I thought about the online posts. About coworkers asking whether I had actually been controlling. About his mother telling me I had abandoned her son. About the fundraiser describing me as some wealthy monster punishing a helpless student. Then, an idea formed. Not revenge exactly. Correction. If you want me to even consider helping you, I said, there's something you need to do first. Anything. You're going to tell the truth. What? Publicly. He went silent. Facebook. Instagram. Everywhere you accused me of abusing you. Maddie. You're going to explain that you cheated for 4 months. His breathing stopped for a second. You're going to tell people I paid your tuition voluntarily. That I paid your car expenses, insurance, food, and living costs because we were together. That's humiliating. So was being called abusive because I stopped financing the man who cheated on me. I was angry when I wrote that. And I'm giving you an opportunity to correct it. He hesitated. What exactly do you want me to say? The truth. All of it. All of it. He was silent for nearly 20 seconds. Then he asked the question I knew was coming. If I do this, will you let me come back? I'll consider helping you. You promise? I promise I'll consider it. He exhaled. Okay. 2 hours later, my phone buzzed. Claire had sent me a screenshot. Then Jenna. Then Nina. I opened Facebook. Evan had actually done it. His post began, I owe Madeline Carter a public apology. He admitted the affair. 4 months. He admitted I had financially supported him for more than a year. Tuition. Car. Living expenses. Everything. He admitted that when I ended that support, he lied by calling me controlling. He admitted the crowdfunding story was misleading. And then he admitted why he had left. He thought Lauren could give him a more glamorous life. Instead, Lauren had lied about her business finances and personal circumstances. Near the end, Evan wrote, Maddie did nothing wrong by cutting me off. I betrayed someone who supported me because I thought I had found something better. When that fantasy collapsed, I tried to blame her for the consequences of my own decisions. I read that sentence twice. Then the comments began. Hundreds of them. Some sympathetic. Most not. One mutual friend wrote, She paid for your MBA and you cheated on her. Another, You called her abusive because she stopped paying after you left her. Seriously. Someone else wrote, You didn't lose a controlling girlfriend. You lost your sponsor by cheating on her. Even one of Evan's former co-workers commented, We all knew Maddie was carrying you financially. Glad you finally admitted it. By 8 that morning, Evan called again. His voice sounded hollow. I did it. I saw. People are destroying me in the comments. You told the truth. I know. Pause. Then. So, can I come over? I stared at the screen of my laptop. At his confession. At the sentence admitting I had done nothing wrong. For weeks, I had imagined how it would feel to finally have my name cleared. I expected triumph. Instead, I felt calm. Very calm. Evan, I said I told you I would consider helping you. Yes, I considered it. Silence. And the answer is no. For several seconds, I heard nothing. Then, what? You're not coming back. But I did what you asked. You told the truth. Because you told me you'd help. No. I told you I would consider helping. His breathing became heavier. Maddie, that's cruel. No. I looked around the quiet bedroom. It's a consequence. You know I have nowhere to go. You had somewhere to go when you left me. That fell apart. Exactly. His voice sharpened. So, this whole thing was just to humiliate me. No, Evan. It was to make you correct the lie you used to humiliate me. He went quiet. Then I asked the question that had been bothering me since the first phone call. If Lauren really owned that successful company, would you be calling me right now? What? If everything she told you had been true, if she had money, the BMW, the clients, the apartment, would you regret cheating on me? That's not fair. It's completely fair. Maddie, would you? Silence. That silence answered me more clearly than anything he could have said. And in that moment, I finally understood exactly what Evan regretted. It wasn't losing me. It was discovering that the person he traded me for wasn't worth what he thought she was. That realization hurt, but it also set me free. For several seconds after I asked Evan whether he would regret cheating if Lauren had actually been rich, neither of us spoke. I could hear traffic through his phone. A truck passing somewhere. The faint hum of the CRV. Then Evan finally whispered, "You're twisting everything." "No," I said. "I'm simplifying it." "Maddie, I said I was sorry. You said you chose wrong. What's the difference?" That question told me everything. The difference is that being sorry means you regret hurting me. Choosing wrong means you regret that Lauren turned out to be broke. That isn't what I meant. Then, answer the question. He went quiet again. If Lauren's business were real, if she had the money and connections she promised, if you were living in some luxury apartment right now instead of sleeping in your car, would you want me back? Maddie, yes or no? I don't know. There it was. Not the answer I wanted. The answer I needed. "Thank you," I said. "For what?" "For finally being honest." His voice immediately became desperate again. "Please don't hang up. I have to get ready for work. I'll pay you back." I stopped. "What?" "The tuition. The car. Everything." "With what money?" "I'll get another job. You told me school was too demanding for you to work more. I'll figure it out." Of course. Now he could figure things out. "I'll give you half my paycheck," he continued. "I'll sign something. Nina can write it. Whatever you want. This isn't about repayment. I'll help around the house." "No." "I'll cook." "No." "I'll clean. I'll do groceries. I'll contribute this time." "Evan." "I'll sleep on the couch. You won't even know I'm there." I closed my eyes. The man who had called my house boring was begging for its couch. The man who had treated stability like a character flaw suddenly wanted nothing more than a locked door, a warm shower, and somewhere safe to sleep. Then his voice dropped. "If you want, we could still..." He stopped. I knew exactly what he meant. "Still what?" "You know." "No. Say it." He hesitated. "We could still be intimate sometimes." I felt whatever tiny piece of sympathy remained inside me disappear. "You're offering me sex for housing?" "No, that's not what That is exactly what you just did. I'm saying, I'll do anything." And that's the problem. What does that mean? "You still think this is transactional?" He said nothing. "You thought paying for your MBA meant I was boring. You thought Lauren's BMW meant she was successful. Now you think cooking, cleaning, money, or sex can buy your way back into my house. I'm desperate." "I know." "Maddie, please." "No." His breathing became ragged. Then the sadness vanished. Anger replaced it. "Fine." I waited. "Fine. Screw you." There was the Evan I recognized. "You think you're so much better than me because you have money. This has never been about me being better than you. You're enjoying watching me suffer." "No. I'm enjoying no longer being responsible for preventing it. You're going to regret this." "Maybe. I'm going to finish school. I'm going to get an amazing job. And one day you're going to realize what you threw away." That almost made me laugh. "You left me, Evan." Silence. "You keep forgetting that." He hung up. I stared at my phone. Then I blocked his number. His email followed. Then social media. For the first time since March 15, Evan no longer had a direct path into my life. I expected some huge emotional release. Instead, I showered, got dressed, made coffee, and went to work. Life continued. That surprised me. For 2 years, so much of my daily routine had revolved around Evan. Did he need the car? Did he have class? Did he need money transferred? Were we out of the groceries he liked? Did he have a networking event? Was tuition due? Was his insurance paid? Suddenly, none of those questions belonged to me. The first month after blocking him felt strange. Then, my credit card statement arrived. I stared at the total. It was almost comical. No expensive dinners. No grooming appointments. No random shopping. No charges from stores I didn't recognize. No networking expenses. For the first time in more than a year, I transferred a significant amount into savings without immediately wondering what Evan would need next. The following month was even better. I began rebuilding the emergency fund that had barely moved during his MBA. I increased my retirement contribution. I paid extra toward the mortgage. Then I did something incredibly irresponsible. I bought myself a ridiculously expensive espresso machine. $800. I stood in the kitchen afterward feeling guilty. Then I realized I had spent more than that on Evan, in random expenses during some weeks. So I made a cappuccino. Best coffee of my life. Information about Evan still reached me occasionally. Denver wasn't enormous, and we shared friends. Claire told me he eventually moved back in with his parents. Apparently, his father's speech about how a good woman stands by her man became significantly less enthusiastic when that man was sleeping in his childhood bedroom and asking his parents for money. Evan increased his hours at the boutique. He applied for student loans. Whether he finished the MBA, I honestly don't know. And eventually, I stopped asking. Lauren's situation became uglier. Her problems with unpaid child support continued. Whatever relationship she and Evan thought they had was finished almost immediately after the truth surfaced. From what I heard, they blamed each other. Evan accused Lauren of using him. Lauren accused Evan of pretending to be wealthier than he actually was. That part fascinated me, because technically both were right. Lauren had presented herself as a successful entrepreneur. Evan had presented himself as a graduate student with access to a nice house, newer car, expensive clothes, vacations, and enough disposable income to live comfortably. What he apparently failed to emphasize was that most of those things were funded by me. They had fallen in love with projections, not people. I was just the invisible bank account keeping one of the projections alive. Evan's public confession stayed online for several weeks. Then he deleted it. I didn't care. I had screenshots. More importantly, the people whose opinions mattered already knew what happened. A few friends apologized for initially believing his version. One coworker admitted she had wondered whether I was secretly controlling because Evan sounded so convincing. That bothered me more than I expected. Not because she had doubted me, because I finally understood how quickly someone can rewrite your character once a relationship ends. Evan needed to believe I was cruel. Otherwise, he had to admit he had destroyed something good for something shiny. And people will sometimes invent an entire villain rather than face one uncomfortable truth about themselves. About 3 months after the breakup, I ran into him, completely by accident. I was leaving a coffee shop downtown after meeting a subcontractor when I heard my name. Maddie. I turned. Evan stood about 15 feet away. For a moment, neither of us moved. He looked different. Not dramatically. Just humbled. His hair was longer. His clothes were simpler. No expensive watch. No carefully curated business school image. He looked like the 24-year-old retail worker I had met at Claire's barbecue. Before I started financing the version of himself he wanted everyone to see. "Hi," I said. He approached slowly. "You look good." "Thanks." "How have you been?" "Good." He nodded. "That's good." Awkward silence. Then he said, "I'm working almost full-time now." I didn't know what response he expected. "Okay. And I'm still taking classes." "That's good." I had to switch to fewer credits. He looked down. "But I'm doing it." For the first time, there was no sales pitch, in his voice. No exaggeration. No attempt to impress me. "I'm glad," I said. And surprisingly, I meant it. He looked at me. "I'm sorry." I waited. Not because Lauren lied. That caught my attention. Not because I lost the house or the money or school. He swallowed. "I'm sorry because I treated someone who loved me like she was temporary." That was different. Maybe he had learned something. Maybe he had simply learned better language. I couldn't know. And I no longer needed to. "I appreciate you saying that." His eyes became wet. "I really did love you." "I know. I was just," he struggled for the word, "greedy." I didn't correct him. "I kept thinking there had to be something better," he continued. "Someone more exciting. More connected. Someone who could make me feel like I was becoming important." "And did Lauren make you feel important?" "For a while," he gave a sad laugh, "until we both realized neither of us was who the other person thought." That might have been the most self-aware thing I ever heard him say. Then he asked, "Do you ever think about us?" There was a time when that question would have destroyed me. Now the answer came easily. "Sometimes." His face brightened slightly. Then I finished, "But I don't miss us." The hope disappeared. "I understand." I think he actually did. He nodded. "I should let you go." "Take care of yourself, Evan." "You too, Maddie." I walked away. He didn't follow me. That mattered. 6 months after the breakup, my life looked almost boring from the outside. Work, home, friends, gym, Sunday dinners with my sister, occasional dates. Nothing cinematic, nothing glamorous, nothing like the future Evan thought Lauren represented. And I loved it, because I finally understood something. Safe was never an insult. Safe meant my mortgage was paid. Safe meant my promises meant something. Safe meant the person sleeping beside me didn't have to wonder where I was at midnight. Safe meant building something slowly, instead of pretending you already had it. Safe meant stability created through discipline. Evan had confused stability with mediocrity, because he had never been responsible for creating stability himself. He only enjoyed the benefits. One evening I sat at the same desk where I had written that list months earlier. Everything I pay for. I still had the yellow legal pad. I found it buried inside a drawer. Tuition, car, insurance, phone, food, subscriptions, entertainment, thousands every month. I looked at the numbers for a while. Then I opened my banking app. My emergency fund was growing again. My retirement account looked healthier. The mortgage balance was dropping. For years, I had thought generosity meant proving how much I could give. Now I understood that generosity without boundaries could become permission. Permission for someone to take. Permission for them to expect. Permission for them to confuse your sacrifice with something they were entitled to. Evan taught me that lesson. Expensively. But I learned it. I tore the yellow page from the legal pad. For a second, I considered keeping it. Some kind of souvenir. Instead, I ripped it in half. Then again, and dropped the pieces into the trash. The money wasn't what I had really gotten back. Neither was the house. Or the quiet. What I reclaimed was much simpler. I stopped believing I needed to become more exciting, more glamorous, more impressive, or less safe to deserve loyalty. Someone who genuinely loves you doesn't need you to audition against the fantasy of whoever walks into the room next. And if they leave because someone else looks shinier, let them. Sometimes the greatest favor a person can do is choose the door themselves. Evan thought he was trading up. Lauren thought she had found someone with money. Both eventually discovered they had been selling each other futures neither could actually provide. As for me, I stayed in the supposedly boring house. Kept the supposedly boring career. Kept saving. Kept building. And every morning, I woke up knowing the person beside me wasn't secretly planning an exit while I paid for their next chapter. Because for a while there was nobody beside me at all. And strangely enough, that felt safer than anything Evan had ever given me.